Remember back when the Valorant Pro scene first started? CSGO talent was pouring in, and every esports org was scrambling to put the world's best aimers in front of a monitor.
Does he have it in him? Does that gene work here in Berlin? You've got the two members of Avant Liberty creeping their way forward. Hiko's good for one. The 1v1. He's gonna get info. Tap's not there. He hasn't even gotten it to Tap. Hiko going in. Oh my God! Hiko lands it, baby! Spencer Martin does it again. A Red Bull clutch for 100 Thieves.
Well, here we stand at the very beginning of the second year of the Valorant Champions Tour. And everything has changed. Teams aren't just looking to fill their rosters with the best available CSGO talent. This game has its own positions, its own roles. And the teams that are filling their rosters accordingly are turning into household names overnight. Let me explain. As long as I'm up here and I can still talk like Kermit the Frog in front of a camera, we're keeping the Valorant content coming. So, if you're a Val head and you like heady analysis videos like this one, make sure you scroll down, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave me a comment. Okay, so the texture and makeup of the professional Valorant team has been fast-moving and exciting to watch. And we've finally gotten to the point where teams aren't just going out and finding the best available Counter-Strike talent to fill their rosters. They're going out and they're getting position-specific, homegrown Valorant demons. Players like Cryocells on Xset, Xander on V1, and even Baby J on the new look 100 Thieves roster. And to better understand how we got to this point, let's go back to the beginning. At the beginning of December 2020, when 100 Thieves became the champions of First Strike on the backs of OG North American stalwarts like Hiko, Nitro, and Steel. At the time, North American Valorant was filled with, well, a lot of NACSGO's rejects. The NACS scene was floundering, it was really hard to keep rosters together, and a lot of mid-tier talent was flocking towards Valorant for a new opportunity. We're talking names like Sick, Tens, Shazam, Dapper, Wardell, Sabrosa, Brax, Skadoodle, Vanity, and Yay.
So, okay, the Cosmic Divide is actually what's going to play contact. You see the smoke come out and the gravity well. BCJ was a sitting duck. He gets cleaned up by Yay. And Yay gets the second one as well. 34 health. Dancing around the corner, he gets 3. El Diablo, baby, you gotta fear him. Looking for 4. This is why you fear this man. This is why he's so highly touted, because he makes plays like that happen.
Now, these might sound like household NA Valorant names to you right now. But back then, we watched with uncertain eyes as they had to prove themselves all over again. It's not like we were watching rosters filled with Asunas, who may have came from CS, but was 16 when he started playing Val. The guy's like not even in his prime yet. No, mostly we were watching esports veterans try to reinvent their career by learning a completely new game. And that meant learning some of the game's newfound positions. And after an entire year, 3 Masters events, an LCQ, and Valorant Champs, we have exactly that. 5 solidified positions or roles that make up a Valorant roster, with some room for interpretation. First, of course, we've got the Jet main, or primary duelist when Jet gets inevitably nerfed. In all seriousness, one of my biggest takeaways from Champions was how important it was to have an op-wielding, high-flying Jet player at the top of your scoreboard. A lot of the games we watched had the likes of Yay, CNED, Durka, and Tens jockeying for position and taking long-range fights against one another. And at least for now, it seems like if you want to be a top team, you gotta Jet good. Next, we've got controllers or smokes. This one's pretty straightforward. Smokes are, and always will be, an integral part of the game and its team compositions. And especially how the game works now, where Astra is completely broken and Viper is a necessity on specific maps. You gotta have a smoker. Then we got the Sentinel. Yes, somebody has to be able to expertly play off their KJ bot. And what's more is with the addition of Chamber to a lot of competitive lineups, this position is looking like a key secondary opera role for a lot of top teams. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing Cloud9's Mitch with the Chamber op in his hands this year.
I'm gonna drone here,
One U-Haul.
He's pushing up U-Haul. slow to me, bro.
Shower chamber. Alright, nice.
80 on jet.
One's like right on the other side. Both U-Haul area.
That's on the U-Haul. Hit 40. Let's go. Nice job.
One thing of note here is that we often see players who aren't traditional Sentinel players like Cypher and Killjoy flex onto Sage when their teams play on Icebox. Sick comes to mind as someone who normally plays flashes but hops onto Sage when necessary. As the pro meta has developed, KO and Sky have become huge parts of team compositions across most maps. They offer an honestly pretty insane amount of diversity in gameplay and utility. They can obtain info, they can entry, and they can support your team if you need them. And as last year went on, we saw players like Zeke, Ethan, Sabrosa, Sick shine on what are some of the most difficult agents to play in the game. And before you jump down my throat, I know that some of these players are good enough that they can flex onto other roles like Raze, Sova, and Viper when their team needs it. Last but not least, we've got the Initiator, or well, Sova mains. Sova remains one of the most important, most difficult, and frankly, most essential characters in competitive games, which in retrospect makes what Shazam did, flexing onto Sova off of Jet for 10s, all the more impressive. Even if that means flexing on maps like Split and Fracture, where he doesn't shine as much. And these 5 roles have brought us to the North American Valorant world we have sitting in front of us right now. Literally, as this video is being published, Cloud9 is playing a revamped version of that same 100 Thieves team that won First Strike way back in December 2020. Rebuilt with much of what I'm discussing right now in mind. Teams like Xset, who needed a Jet player this offseason to round out their roster. So they brought in the best one on the market, my boy Cryocells.
Finally takes one to the side of the head. The office here, the knives are on,
Here we
and
go.
Cryo looks to steal it back. He goes up top, he cuts down Jerk, and now Calypso, the last one standing here. The op comes out, the angle's held, and Cryo goes clutch.
Unfriggin' real Cryo 1v3 to pull it off at the very end.
And Cryo and company have been on a roll, cementing their spot in the Challengers main event and winning the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Championship, where Cryo was plus 22 in their final sweep. The same can be said about Version 1, who were reeling just a little bit after their loss of Vanity to Cloud9 last year. But they went out and signed Xander to fill their smoke slot, who has looked nasty in the early going.
But he needs to hurry up because the crew's starting to catch frags. Fits down.
1v2. Xander. Oh, gets the headshot in the transfer. Unbelievable, and a well-found clutch. Version 1 needed that.
100 Thieves, same thing. Instead of going out and signing some random NA CSGO player, they got Baby J to fill their need for a high-quality Sentinels player, and Eccles from EU to fill their need for a Smokes player. And speaking of EU, the same thing can be said about Fnatic. They signed Brave F as a dedicated Sova player this offseason, which will allow Boaster to focus on smokes and allow Durka to play Duelist on every map. Whereas previously, he had to play Sova on Bind.
Durka, hold on. He's gonna have one. He's got 2! It could not happen! Both for Durka!
And don't even get me started on the Guard, who went out this offseason and built a completely new roster based around these 5 positions, and have looked absolutely nasty so far, with Sayapleya on the Jet and Trent on the Sova.
And the IGL to support, Cryo drops down, so does Aaron. But Aaron actually the one to fall. Death does him part, and now the shock darts. BCJ trying to play Legolas, and Trent stays alive. Now look at the HP. It's a 1v2 and it's doable. He spots out one wallbang. Where is it? It's a possibility, trying to line it up. Trent, he finds it, and now it's a 1 versus 1. Unaware of the position of the other, last known in close, a single bullet, a reveal, a wallbang! It is Trent!
As far as I can tell, this is the new reality. Teams have figured out how they want their rosters to look while they're preparing for all those different meta compositions on each map. They're not looking for raw aim. They're looking for homegrown Valorant talent that is adept at these specific skill sets. And that new reality seems to be shining the brightest on the teams that put the most work in this offseason. And that's got me very excited to watch 100 Thieves play. Okay, so let's tie this narrative up a little bit. The fact of the matter is, restrictive positions and roles have had a pretty tenuous history in the world of esports. In League of Legends, for example, the game is basically balanced around the 5 roles. But fans often wax nostalgic, missing a time when the roles weren't so restrictive. In Overwatch, Blizzard hoped that a dedicated role queue would stop the pervasiveness of tanks and supports at the highest level. But the pros ended up hating the restrictiveness and the lack of creative expression that the system offered. And for me, Valorant has a chance to be the best of both worlds, where teams are designed and balanced around these unique roles. But you've got guys like Shazam, who plays Sova and Jett, Zeppa, who plays KO and Raze, and Sick, who can seemingly play any position and any agent, showing us just how well-rounded you can be at this game. Right now, the game is really towing a fine line and has a chance to surpass many esports in the way that its roles play out. For me, it's truly the esports pros' magical Christmas land. So, let's keep it that way. Well, I think I'm thoroughly turned into toxic Jett main. I only ever want to play Jett. I only ever insta-lock Jett, and there's something about playing Jett, you know? Like, it's like, you lock in that Jett, she spins the knife on her hand, and you're like, you get a little adrenaline boost, and you're like, oh yeah, today's my day.